So Travelsify is an artificial intelligence-powered engine that collects and generates data on restaurants and hotels. Now, in order to describe the problem that Travelsify tackles, I'm going to use a metaphor. And the metaphor is online dating apps. Now, imagine an online dating app that isn't that good. Maybe all it tells you about a potential date is that they're tall, skinny, and in the Bronx. It's not a lot to go on. And so online restaurant search is a little bit like that today. The online databases that tag restaurants with information tend to have very generic labels like 3-star, Italian, Chinese, upscale. So maybe, Alexandra, you could pick up the story from there.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Sean, and good afternoon, everybody. So let's take an example. Let's take Google that we all know. So Google is doing a very good job with data for restaurants, having a lot of information, of course, the street, the address, the phone number, but also the user rating, the type of food, the opening hours. But when we come and we discuss about the experience that restaurants are providing, Google is rather limited. For instance, here in New York, you have 21 Club restaurants. If you go to Google, you will see that they will tag it as late-night food and comfort food.
The 21 Club?
The 21
late
Club.
Night. Okay.
With Travelsify Restaurant DNA, we can tell you more. We can tell you that it's upscale, stylish, rather lively, a great spot for business meals and special occasions for foodies and wine lovers. So the starting point of Travelsify is that we've been analyzing semantically more than 200 million of user reviews. And what we found out is that people are talking as much about the quietness or liveliness than about the price or the value of a restaurant. That they are talking twice about the decoration and ambience than about the type of cuisine. So from that perspective, what we've done is that we have built an AI technology that is able to extract the DNA of each restaurant, DNA descriptors. We do that for more than 500,000 restaurants in the world, from guest experiences. So it would be like stylish, vintage, lively, creative, timely, etc. And we help restaurant booking platforms to better match users with restaurants, but also restaurant managers to understand why people are going to their restaurants.
So, Alexandra, you talked about experiences. One of the trends that Skift Table has been tracking is that more and more restaurants are trying to focus on delivering experiences, not just fine-tuning the menus. So how can Travelsify help maybe build on that?
Yes, with Travelsify Restaurant DNA, we can help restaurant managers to really find out why people are going to their restaurant. What are the true reasons? Is it because you have a creative cuisine? Or it's because your ambience is stylish and quiet? Is it because you're offering Asian fusion food, or because it's al fresco and welcoming groups? So when the user review says, I didn't like that restaurant because it was too nosy or lively for my romantic date, what does it mean? Does it mean that the restaurant did a poor job? No, not at all.
It was like the wrong person matched up the wrong
Exactly, the mismatch. Mm-hmm. But at the end user is leaving a bad review, a bad rating. So what we are suggesting is that the industry is going beyond user rating, beyond user satisfaction, and truly looking into the DNA, the experience that the restaurant is truly providing. And we can help restaurant managers to figure out what are the key business drivers to lead repeating guests, and also to find their own differentiators with their competitors. Also, if you're opening a new restaurant, you should normally look at more AI analytics to better understand the local market and the competitors outside.
So, Alexandra, do you think that the restaurant sector is way behind other sectors like retail and entertainment when it comes to breaking down product attributes in a way that allows for more sophisticated marketing and recommendations like you're talking about?
Yes, that's right, that when we talk about data and personalization, most of the companies are thinking about user data. And they just leave a bit behind, the product data as the restaurant DNA descriptors, for example. But Netflix, they did it the other way. So they have been building more than 77,000 of microgenres to describe TV series and movies.
77,000 microgenres?
Exactly, yes. to describe all these TV series and movies in order to gather a lot of information about what are the user preferences. And they use that information today not only for personalization, but also to create new content that people will like. So this is a kind of example, I think, that the restaurant industry could get inspired because it's a success.
We have a lot of restaurant groups in the audience. How could Travelsify help a restaurant group maintain brand equity?
Yeah, that's a new product that we have. Actually, people were asking for it, so it's a good product market fit, as we say in a startup world. We can create, actually, we can give you if you're a restaurant group or a restaurant chain, we can provide you with your restaurant brand DNA out of all these restaurants. And we can pinpoint what we call the restaurants really following your brand equity, okay, the so-called brand advocates, or the restaurants that are not following your brand equity, what we call the brand detractors. And we can do that because at Travelsify, all these restaurant DNA descriptors are associated with a weight, with a percentage, if you want. So we can truly compare restaurants and brands. And this is something that you can use really to be able to manage brands. And this is really innovative, and it's new in the industry to have access to such AI analytics.
Is there any example of like a restaurant group that may have used Travelsify?
Yes, since we're in New York, let's take Morton's Steakhouse, right? So the brand DNA of Morton's is, of course, steakhouse, but also seafood, a dinner spot for special occasion, classic cuisine for foodies and groups. What's interesting is that the Morton in Indianapolis has a very high percentage in the foodie DNA attribute, which is very great. So this is a brand advocate for Morton's. While the Morton's in Nashville has a very low percentage in foodie DNA attribute. And this could really become a brand detractor for Morton's restaurant DNA equity.
So they could use the information and pick out properties like maybe the Nashville property and try to tune it up to the regular standard.
Of course, in a kind of discussion with the brand manager, of course, all the time.
We have a couple of minutes left, so let's talk about trends. What is happening with conversational commerce? Like, how long is it that until restaurants have to worry about Alexa and Google Home and Siri for restaurant discovery and marketing?
Yes, at Travelsify, we truly believe that conversational commerce is impacting and will impact the way people are searching for products and searching for restaurants. The reasons for that are quite simple. We prefer to talk than to write. We talk 4 times faster than we are writing. And when we are talking, we are using more words to describe what we want. So in the future, we won't type, okay, Google, I want to find a good Italian restaurant in NYC. We're going to say, okay, I would like to have a good traditional Italian restaurant with a cozy atmosphere and a great wine list in NYC. And the winners of tomorrow will have to adapt to that, and will have to match all these elements coming from these voice unstructured queries from the users, like the one I just said, and to match it with the right restaurants. And in order to do that, there is no magic. The magic is relying on the data. The more you know about the restaurants, the more data you have and rich information, the better you can make this match and answer the user intent and queries there. So here we are. We are very happy to provide all these data analytics to the industry, to restaurants, and for today's business, but also to cope with the new usages for tomorrow.
We were talking before we went on about Google Maps, and earlier this year they introduced a new functionality. Could you briefly, we have about a minute to talk a little bit about what they're doing in restaurants?
Yes, I don't know whether you noticed, but on Google Maps today, if you look for restaurants, you're going to see a match score. If Google has some information about you, okay, you will see a match score. Immediately Google will say, this restaurant is matching you at 85, 99, whatever %. And they're also giving you an information which is quite interesting. They say, this restaurant that you don't know, obviously, is similar to that restaurant or that restaurant that you know. And immediately you can figure out what's the kind of experience you might have in such restaurant. With Travelsify, we actually have more data than Google, as we explained, and we can have this match score even better. So I think that this is really a trend in the industry. Netflix also introduced this match score last year, and they're having a lot of great results for that. So For me, it's a trend that will stay, and people will look in more and more for these match scores. And for that, you need very valuable and enriched information about product.
Fantastic. Well, Alexandra, it was great chatting with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.